Most people believe overthinking happens because they think too much. Sherlock Holmes would disagree. Most overthinking begins long before there is anything worth thinking about. Arthur Conan Doyle, the British physician and creator of Sherlock Holmes, gave Holmes a line that perfectly explains why. In A Scandal in Bohemia, first published in 1891, Holmes says, "It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories, instead of theories to suit facts." That sentence is not just detective advice. It is psychological advice. Think about your own mind. Maybe they're upset with me. Maybe I ruined everything. Maybe tomorrow will go badly. Maybe I'm not good enough. None of these are facts. They are theories. Yet the brain rarely treats them that way. It reacts as though every imagined disaster has already happened. Your heart races. Your attention narrows. Your body prepares for danger. Not because danger is real, because a theory quietly became a fact. Sherlock Holmes solved mysteries by refusing to confuse imagination with evidence. Perhaps the same habit can help solve something much closer to home. The mystery inside your own mind. Sherlock Holmes never rushed toward an explanation. He moved toward observation. Only after enough evidence appeared did he allow himself to build a theory. That sounds obvious. Yet the human mind often works in the opposite direction. We notice one small detail, then we immediately begin writing a story around it. A delayed reply becomes rejection. One mistake becomes failure. One uncertain future becomes inevitable catastrophe. The remarkable part is not that the brain creates stories. It evolved to do exactly that. The brain constantly predicts what might happen next. Prediction helps us survive. It lets us react before danger arrives. But prediction becomes a problem when it quietly disguises itself as certainty. This is why Holmes insisted on data before theory. He understood something that modern psychology continues to support. Our first explanation is rarely our most accurate one. Instead, it is usually the easiest one. Once we accept that explanation, something subtle happens. We begin collecting evidence that supports it. Everything else disappears into the background. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. It is one of the most common thinking errors in everyday life. The mind prefers consistency over accuracy. Once it decides what is true, it starts defending that decision. Holmes trained himself to do the opposite. He delayed certainty. He stayed uncomfortable a little longer. Not because uncertainty felt pleasant, because truth deserved patience. This difference explains why Holmes often appeared calm while everyone else panicked. Others believed they already understood the situation. Holmes knew they understood almost nothing. His calmness did not come from confidence. It came from restraint. There is another reason this matters. Overthinking feels productive. It creates the illusion that endless analysis brings us closer to safety. But thinking without evidence often moves us farther away. Every imagined explanation produces another question. Every question creates another possibility. Soon, the mind becomes trapped inside a maze it built itself. The exit was never hidden. It simply required returning to the beginning. What do I actually know? Not what do I fear? Not what do I assume? Not what feels true, only what is true. That small distinction changes everything. Sherlock Holmes understood that facts are quiet, stories are loud. Fear almost always speaks before evidence does. Perhaps wisdom is not learning how to silence fear forever. Perhaps wisdom is learning not to let fear become your narrator. So before believing the next anxious thought, ask yourself one quiet question. How much of what I fear today is evidence? And how much is only a story my mind has started telling? One of Sherlock Holmes' most famous discoveries began with something that never happened. Arthur Conan Doyle introduced this moment in Silver Blaze, published in 1892. Inspector Gregory asks Holmes whether there is any point that deserves attention. Holmes answers, "The curious incident of the dog in the nighttime." Gregory replies, "The dog did nothing in the nighttime." Holmes says, "That was the curious incident. The clue was not a sound, it was the absence of one. The dog did not bark." That silence meant the visitor was familiar. Everyone else searched for dramatic evidence. Holmes noticed what reality quietly left behind. This is one of the greatest lessons hidden inside the Sherlock Holmes stories. Observation is not the same as imagination. Observation stays with reality. Imagination keeps asking what might be true. Overthinking almost always begins when imagination takes control. Someone walks past without smiling. The mind whispers, "They must be angry." A meeting gets postponed. The mind says, "I'm probably in trouble." A friend becomes unusually quiet. The mind immediately searches for a personal explanation. "They're disappointed in me." Reality has offered only a few facts. The rest arrives from imagination. Our brains do this because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Modern neuroscience suggests that the brain is constantly making predictions about the world. It fills in missing information before complete evidence arrives. Most of the time, this helps us move through life efficiently. But during anxiety, the prediction system becomes overly cautious. Every unknown begins to resemble a possible threat. The imagination starts producing explanations faster than reality can provide answers. Sherlock Holmes resisted this temptation. He did not rush to erase uncertainty. He allowed it to exist. He treated uncertainty as unfinished evidence, not as proof. That requires a kind of patience many people mistake for hesitation, but they are not the same. Hesitation is fear of making a decision. Patience is respect for the truth. Holmes knew that the first explanation often feels the most satisfying. That does not make it the most accurate. He was willing to wait. He was willing to keep observing. He was willing to admit, "I do not know yet." Those 4 words are surprisingly difficult, especially for an anxious mind. Because anxiety believes every unanswered question demands an immediate answer. Holmes believed something different. Not every mystery needs to be solved today. Some simply need more evidence. There is a quiet freedom in that idea. You do not have to force certainty into every uncertain moment. You do not have to explain every silence. You do not have to predict every future conversation. Sometimes the most intelligent response is the one Holmes practiced again and again. Observe. Wait. Notice a little longer. The truth rarely disappears because you were patient, but it often becomes distorted because you were in a hurry. So the next time your mind races to explain something that has not yet been explained, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what have I actually observed, and what have I merely imagined? Long before people spoke about information overload, Sherlock Holmes was already warning against it. Arthur Conan Doyle introduced one of Holmes' most famous ideas in A Study in Scarlet, published in 1887. Holmes compares the human mind to an attic. He explains, "I consider that a man's brain originally is like a little empty attic." He continues by saying that a wise person chooses carefully what goes into that attic, because once it becomes crowded with useless things, the useful things become harder to find. It is a simple metaphor, but it feels remarkably modern. Today, your mind is surrounded by more information than Holmes could ever have imagined. News updates, notifications, endless opinions, productivity advice, social media comparisons, predictions about the future. Most of it competes for one limited resource: your attention. Many people believe a sharper mind comes from knowing more. Holmes believed the opposite. A sharper mind comes from protecting what deserves space. This is where overthinking quietly grows. Not because the brain is weak, because it never gets a chance to become still. Every unfinished conversation stays open. Every possible outcome remains active. Every regret asks for one more replay. Every worry demands another rehearsal. Eventually, the mind resembles an attic where nothing has been organized. Everything feels important. Nothing feels clear. Holmes was highly knowledgeable, but he was also selective. In A Study in Scarlet, Dr. John Watson, the former British Army surgeon who becomes Holmes' closest friend and biographer, is surprised to discover that Holmes deliberately ignores information he considers irrelevant to his work. Whether modern readers agree with every example Holmes gives is beside the point. The deeper principle remains. Attention is a limited resource. Every unnecessary thought occupies space that could have been used for careful observation, sound judgment, or genuine creativity. Modern life encourages the opposite. It rewards constant input. It praises being informed about everything. It quietly convinces us that missing a piece of information is dangerous. But Holmes never tried to know everything. He tried to know what mattered. That difference is easy to overlook, yet it changes the way a person thinks. Overthinking often asks, "What else should I be considering?" Holmes asked, "What actually deserves consideration?" One question expands forever. The other creates clarity. Perhaps that is why Holmes could remain composed while others became overwhelmed. His calm did not come from having fewer problems. It came from carrying fewer unnecessary thoughts. There is something deeply reassuring about that. You do not need to solve every possibility. You do not need to answer every imagined future. You do not need to store every fear that passes through your mind. Some thoughts deserve investigation. Others simply arrive and leave. The wisdom lies in knowing the difference. Perhaps the goal is not to build a more powerful mind. Perhaps the goal is to build a more discerning one. So before you give another anxious thought a permanent place inside your mental attic, ask yourself one final question. Does this thought deserve space in my mind? Or has it simply arrived without an invitation? Sherlock Holmes was never trying to eliminate uncertainty. He was trying to protect truth. He understood that clear thinking begins with intellectual discipline. Facts before stories, observation before judgment, attention before reaction. Those principles solved mysteries on Baker Street. They can also illuminate the quieter mysteries we carry within ourselves. Most of us will never investigate a stolen jewel or uncover the identity of a hidden criminal. But every day, we investigate our own thoughts. Every day, we decide which ones deserve our belief. Perhaps overthinking is not the result of having too many thoughts. Perhaps it begins the moment we stop asking whether those thoughts are true. Sherlock Holmes left us more than detective stories. He left us a way of thinking, a way that values patience over panic, evidence over assumption, clarity over noise. And maybe that is the greatest mystery worth solving. Not who committed the crime, but who is telling the story inside your own mind. If this perspective changed the way you see overthinking, share your thoughts in the comments. What is one belief you once accepted as a fact? Until you finally discovered it was only a theory?